If you own a Honda, I need you to stop everything you are doing right now and pay very close attention to what Iopos about to show you, because there is a 90% chance your engine is suffering from a problem thatapos, costing you money every single day, and the craziest part is that most Honda owners have absolutely no idea this is happening to them. Iopos been working on cars for over 15 years, and I can tell you with complete certainty that this one simple fix has saved more Honda engines than any other repair Iopos ever done. Iopos, talking about something that costs less than $2, takes about 5 minutes to do, and yet mechanics charge anywhere from $150 to $300 to perform this exact same service. By the end of this video, Iopos, we're going to know exactly what this fix is, how to do it yourself, and most importantly, why every single Honda owner needs to do this at least twice a year if they want their engine to last. But Iopos, the thing, and this is what really gets me frustrated, the dealerships know about this, the mechanics know about this, and yet nobody is telling Honda owners because there is Iopos, simply too much money to be made from keeping you in the dark. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this before you answer. Have you noticed that your Honda doesn't Iopos quite feel the same as it did when you first bought it? Maybe Iopos is a little hesitation when you press the gas pedal, or perhaps your fuel economy has dropped by a few miles per gallon over the years. Some of you might have experienced a rough idle, where the engine kind of shakes or vibrates more than it should when Iopos are sitting at a red light. And Iopos, a big one that I hear all the time, that dreaded check engine light that comes on, and nobody can seem to figure out why. If any of these symptoms sound familiar to you, then congratulations, Iopos, about to discover exactly what Iopos causing all of these problems, and more importantly, how to fix them for less than the price of a cup of coffee. Now, before I show you this fix, I need to explain something really important about how your Honda engine actually works, because once you understand this, everything is going to make so much more sense. Your Honda, whether Iopos, a Civic, an Accord, a CR-V, an Odyssey, a Pilot, or any other model, has a component called the mass airflow sensor, and this little sensor right here is absolutely critical to how your engine performs. What this sensor does is measure the exact amount of air entering your engine at any given moment, and it sends that information to your car Iopos computer. The computer then uses this data to calculate precisely how much fuel needs to be injected into the engine to create the perfect air-fuel mixture for combustion. When this sensor is working correctly, your engine runs smooth, your fuel economy is optimized, and everything feels responsive. But here Iopos, where the problem starts, and this is something that happens to literally every single Honda on the road. Over time, this mass airflow sensor gets dirty, and Iopos, I'm not talking about a little bit of dust here. Iopos, I'm talking about a buildup of oil residue, dirt particles, and contaminants that gradually coat the delicate sensing element inside. You see, every time air passes through your engine Iopos intake system, it carries tiny particles with it. Even with a perfectly functioning air filter, microscopic contaminants still make their way through. These particles stick to the heated wire or film element inside the MAF sensor, and over time, they create an insulating layer that prevents the sensor from accurately measuring the incoming air. When this happens, your engine Iopos' computer starts receiving incorrect information. It thinks there is less air coming in than there actually is, so it adjusts the fuel mixture accordingly. This results in what we call a lean condition, where there is not enough fuel being mixed with the air, and thatapos when you start experiencing all those symptoms I mentioned earlier. But wait, it actually gets worse than that. When your MAF sensor is dirty and sending incorrect readings, your Honda Iopos' computer goes into what Iopos called an adaptive learning mode. It tries to compensate for the bad readings by making adjustments to the fuel trim. Over weeks and months, while Iopos are waiting for the sensor to dry, this is actually a great time to also check your air filter. Pull it out and hold it up to a light. If you can Iopos see light passing through it easily, Iopos is time for a replacement. A dirty air filter forces more contamination past and accelerates how quickly your MAF sensor gets dirty again. I recommend changing your air filter every 15,000 miles or once a year, whichever comes first. Some of you watching this right now probably haven't changed your air filter in years, and I am willing to bet that your MAF sensor is absolutely filthy as a result. Go ahead and drop a comment below and tell me how many miles are on your current air filter. I'm genuinely curious to see what numbers we get. People tell me they've gone over 50,000 miles on the same filter, which is absolutely insane and terrible for your engine. Once your MAF sensor is completely dry, reinstall it by reversing the removal process. Make sure the orientation is correct, the requipos, usually an arrow or marking that indicates which way the air flows. Reconnect the electrical connector until you hear it click into place. Now here is a really important step that a lot of people skip. After cleaning your MAF sensor, you need to reset your car's adaptive learning so the computer can relearn the correct fuel trim values. The easiest way to do this on most Honda models is to disconnect the battery for about 15 minutes. This clears the stored adaptations and forces the computer to start fresh. When you reconnect the battery and start the car, the computer will begin learning all over again, but this time it will be working with accurate sensor data. The results of this simple cleaning are often dramatic, and I mean really dramatic. They had people message me saying their fuel economy improved by 3 to 5 miles per gallon after doing this. Others have reported that their rough idle completely disappeared, their throttle response improved significantly, and that persistent check engine light finally went away. Some Honda owners have told me that their car feels like new again, and they can't believe such a simple fix could make such a big difference. This is exactly why I make these videos, because there are millions of Honda owners out there driving cars that are performing anywhere close to their potential, all because of a dirty sensor that costs $2 to clean. Now I want to address something that I know some of you are thinking right now. Wondering why, if this is such a common problem with such an easy fix, nobody ever told you about it before. And honestly, this is a question that bothers me too. The answer, unfortunately, comes down to money. When you take your Honda to a dealership or a shop and they diagnose a running issue, they were not going to tell you to go buy a $2 can of cleaner and fix it yourself. Instead, they are going to recommend a fuel system cleaning service that costs $150, or we're going to suggest replacing the MAF sensor entirely for $200 to $300 plus labor. We've seen shops charge over $500 to replace a MAF sensor that just needed a simple cleaning. This happens every single day at repair shops all across the country, and it's honestly one of the biggest ripoffs in the automotive industry. I want you to think about something for a moment. How many times have you taken your car to a shop for one problem and walked out with a bill for something completely different? How many times have you been told you need expensive repairs that you not even sure were necessary? This is why I believe so strongly in educating yourself about basic car maintenance. Knowledge is power, and the more you understand about how your vehicle works, the less likely you are to get taken advantage of. Not saying all mechanics are dishonest, because that are definitely not true. There are plenty of great honest technicians out there who genuinely want to help their customers. But there are also plenty who see every customer as an opportunity to upsell unnecessary services, and the only way to protect yourself is to know what actually going on with your car. Let me tell you about a specific situation I encountered just last month that perfectly illustrates this point. A woman brought her Honda Accord to my shop because it had been running rough and the fuel economy had dropped significantly. She told me she had already taken it to 2 other shops, and both of them recommended different expensive repairs. One shop said she needed new fuel injectors for about $800. The other shop said she needed a new catalytic converter for over $1,500. She was frustrated and confused, and honestly I don't blame her. When I looked at her car, the first thing I checked was the MAF sensor. It was absolutely caked with buildup, some of the worst I've ever seen. I cleaned it with a $2 can of cleaner, reset the adaptations, and sent her on her way. A week later she called to tell me that her car was running perfectly and her fuel economy was back to normal. All those expensive repairs that other shops recommended were completely unnecessary. Her problem was a dirty sensor that took me 5 minutes to clean. This brings me to an important question that I want you to really consider. How often should you clean your MAF sensor? In my professional opinion, every Honda owner should do this cleaning at least twice a year, regardless of whether they are experiencing any symptoms. Think of it like changing your oil or rotating your tires. Iterapos is preventive maintenance that keeps small problems from becoming big ones. If you drive in dusty conditions, live in an area with high pollution, or frequently drive in stop-and-go traffic, you might want to do it even more often, maybe every 3 to 4 months. The cleaner is cheap, the process is quick, and the benefits are significant. There are really no downside to keeping your MAF sensor clean. I also want to mention something that a lot of Honda owners don't realize about their specific engines. Honda engines, particularly the VTEC models, are incredibly sensitive to airflow measurements. The VTEC system relies on precise data from the MAF sensor to determine when to switch between the low and high cam profiles. When the sensor is dirty and providing inaccurate readings, the VTEC engagement can become sluggish or erratic. Some of you might have noticed that your VTEC doesn't kick in as smoothly as it used to, or that the power delivery feels inconsistent at higher RPMs. This is often directly related to MAF sensor contamination. By keeping your sensor clean, ensuring that your VTEC system operates exactly as Honda engineers intended. Now, I know some of you are watching this and thinking that your Honda is running fine, so why should you bother with this maintenance? And I understand that mindset, I really do. But here is the thing: the symptoms of a dirty MAF sensor develop so gradually that you often don't notice them until the problem becomes severe. Your fuel economy drops by half a mile per gallon 1 month, then another half the next month, and before you know it, you getting 5 miles per gallon less than you should be. That like throwing money out the window every time you fill up. Let us do some quick math here. If you drive 15,000 miles a year and your fuel economy has dropped by 5 miles per gallon due to a dirty sensor, you are burning an extra 75 to 100 gallons of fuel annually. At current gas prices, that somewhere between $300 and $400 per year that you are wasting, and all because of a problem that costs $2 to fix. When you think about it that way, this is probably the highest return on investment of any car maintenance you can do. Something else I want to touch on is the environmental impact, because I know a lot of Honda owners choose the brand partly because of its reputation for fuel efficiency and lower emissions. When your MAF sensor is dirty and your engine is running with incorrect fuel mixture, you producing more emissions than necessary. Your catalytic converter has to work harder to clean up the exhaust, which causes it to run hotter and wear out faster. This is actually one of the reasons why catalytic converter failures have become so common. Not always because the converter itself is bad, often because upstream problems like a dirty MAF sensor are causing it to overwork. By keeping your sensor clean, you not only improving your fuel economy and performance, we're also reducing your environmental impact and extending the life of your emissions system components. I want to share a few more quick tips before I wrap up this video. First, when you buy a MAF sensor cleaner, get a couple of cans so you have them on hand. They last forever on the shelf, and you don't want to put off this maintenance just because you have to make a trip to the parts store. Second, consider cleaning your throttle body at the same time you clean your MAF sensor. The throttle body accumulates carbon deposits over time, and cleaning it takes about the same amount of effort. You need a different type of cleaner for that, throttle body cleaner specifically, but the results are worth it. Third, after you do this cleaning, pay attention to how your car feels over the next few days. You should notice smoother idle, better throttle response, and improved fuel economy. If you don't notice any improvement, there might be other issues that need to be addressed, but for most Honda owners, this cleaning makes an immediate and noticeable difference. Before I let you go, I have one last thing I want to ask. If this video helped you, if you learned something new today, please take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I put a lot of work into researching and creating these videos, and your support is what allows me to keep doing it. Also, love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know what model Honda you drive and what year it is. Tell me if you have ever cleaned your MAF sensor before, and if you try this fix, come back and let me know what results you got. I read every single comment and I try to respond to as many as I can. There is a whole community of Honda owners here helping each other out, and I think that is pretty awesome. So with that said, thank you for watching, take care of your Honda, and I'll see you in the next video.